The following is a special presentation, Brave Conquers Fear.
Proving what is possible, a record-setting race without taking a step.
She was courageous and she was a fighter.
Kindness through a child's eyes. Athletes accustomed to persevering face more than they could imagine.
I can only call it a miracle.
Fighting his way back to a love after a devastating accident. And
I will never forget watching Grace come out of the water that day.
carrying on a life's mission to inspire. Everyone faces challenges. They may come in different forms, but the inspiration to overcome can connect us all. These are the stories of Brave Conquers Fear. I'm Cheryl Preheim. We begin with the story of a young lady who has proven every day of her life that the things that don't seem possible can be. Doctors didn't expect Bentley Grace Hicks to have many days on this earth, let alone days filled with record-setting accomplishments. She's never taken a step, but she has always been determined to run. Some beauty just is. It's effortless. Some beauty comes from pain and difficulty.
You help Bentley Grace be strong, don't you?
Bentley Grace is an example of both. She trains on Archer, a therapy horse at Reins of Life.
That trains her core to be stronger in the chair and stronger in life.
He helps her build strength for what she feels born to do.
I've been racing ever since I was 14 years old.
Hers is a life spent overcoming odds.
She was born very premature at 23 weeks and 4 days, and she was 1 pound 6 ounces.
The doctor said that she had never walked, never talked, never eat without a feeding tube, never breathed without oxygen.
She's shown what is possible, breathing, talking. And while she can't walk yet,
How you feeling?
with the help of people who love her, Bentley Grace runs.
She loves speed. She's like an adrenaline junkie.
I love running with him.
She trains with Chris Nasser. She considers him Superman and family.
I feel like Chris is my brother.
It's like a brother-sister kind of bond thing.
A two-person elite racing team working to break the Guinness Book of World Records in the marathon.
2 hours and 49 minutes and 56 seconds, pushing a race chair with 100 pounds worth of human being.
Chris takes each stride, while Bentley Grace meticulously manages their time and pace.
These chair athletes are working harder than we could ever understand.
And provides the motivation.
Sometimes when you're running by yourself, you get this little like demon on your shoulder. But Bentley Grace is that angel on your shoulder that gives you encouragement to keep going.
Their biggest goal together yet is on the horizon. After falling a few minutes short twice, they've qualified for the Boston Marathon. It is their chance to break that record.
We were overjoyed.
And we're ready to go race Boston.
The inspiration within Bentley Grace just is. It is effortless.
We've chosen to find the blessings in everything as opposed to the curse.
And she is proof that enduring difficulties, never giving up, brings amazing beauty too.
There's endless possibilities. She's going to do all that she can dream of.
To officially get to that world record, they would have to beat a certain time, but they'd run that time before, so they were confident and excited traveling to Boston. They'll never forget how it felt that moment they saw the finish line at the Boston Marathon. Their time, 8 minutes 20 seconds faster than the previous world record for a wheelchair racing team. Bentley Grace and Chris say they felt incredible joy as they celebrated with their family at the finish. Ellie had no idea what her room rules would mean someday to her parents, to her little brother, and to her whole community. Her sweet and simple perspective on the power of kindness lives on.
Ellie had such a beautiful heart. She loved everyone. She was a great big sister. And he misses her like crazy.
Ellie's parents and her 5-year-old brother still feel her close.
She was courageous and she was a fighter.
They draw on the kind of courage she showed at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. The girl who danced despite juvenile arthritis, battled a brain bleed and lupus before her time on Earth ended.
And I think Ellie's mission on Earth was to make sure everyone had a best friend.
Kindness was Ellie's superpower, and it inspired the rules for her room.
They were hanging on her door, her bedroom door. You have to have fun and you have to be nice, no fighting. The first one and the last one caught our attention.
Have fun, always love. Ellie's rules to live by that now live on.
It just took off in the community, and it was on signs, and like I said, people wanted shirts. It became, it's kind of the slogan for our community.
These are rules that everyone could use everywhere in their daily life.
I mean, it's just incredible that, an 8-year-old just saw the importance in those things and how simple they sound. But man, if people would just do it, what a difference it would make,
Every Olympian and Paralympian has a story of strength and perseverance, but Elijah Godwin's really stands out. He was doing backward sprints at practice when he fell on a javelin and it impaled him. He didn't just think his career was over, he thought his life was too.
In a blink of an eye, nothing's fine no more. Everything's just chaos.
A normal day of practice until it wasn't.
Where the javelin was.
Elijah fell onto a javelin. It went through his body.
No exaggeration, it's in my back.
Losing oxygen, his heart rate dropped.
It was scary.
Elijah thought it was the end.
Punching my lungs, so now that I was kind of spitting up a lot of blood, it got real. I was just oh, it's bad. I started praying about it.
These are pictures from the operating room. The javelin went under his rib cage, piercing his left lung.
It's 7 doctors here. It's because they did not know what would happen when they pulled it out. It was so close to his heart.
His story was out there, but very few knew just how serious it really was. He survived surgery, but this strong, elite athlete now could not stand and struggled to breathe.
I wanted to immediately start recovering.
He used it to push himself.
It was never an excuse, it was only motivation.
2 years later, against every odd and prediction,
Treasure life every day after that.
the Olympic trials.
I wasn't taking no for an answer, and if I was going to lose, it was going to be at my very best.
Impaled by a javelin.
I said, oh my God, is he actually going to go to the Olympics?
Moments they will not take for granted.
I can only call it a miracle.
UGA Pro Dog swimmer Chase Kalish won the first gold medal for Team USA at the Summer Games. He was unstoppable. This from a young man who once wondered if he'd ever get out of his hospital bed or even survive Guillain-Barré syndrome. Talk me through the time in your childhood when you were sick and how that has affected you. Maybe a perspective on life or even just an appreciation of what you get to do competitively every day.
I can really kind of look back at that and my parents were in the hospital every single day. There wasn't a day that they weren't there, and that was for a year. And there was times where I was on life support and a ventilator and a feeding tube, and I knew there was a chance of dying from it. That really has never been a kind of a situation that I really wanted to think about the what ifs of. I mean, it's scary at times. I had about 8 months I was laying in a hospital bed where I could not move. All I could do was blink, and I just remember watching TV and just being in pain constantly. But I guess that's the benefit of being a kid and having a positive outlook and not really seeing the darker sides of the world.
And swimming was a therapy?
Yeah, that was actually the first thing. I was still in a wheelchair. I really had no movement over my legs. Walking wasn't even a question at that time. But they put me in a saltwater pool. Someone was holding me up, but that was kind of the first real thing that I really was like, all right, we'll get through this. We'll kind of get back to normal. Didn't expect to ever be where I am now. But don't really ever lose sight of what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. Keep a positive mindset and keep working hard and you'll get better.
Water has represented healing and freedom for McLean Hermes too. She started losing her sight as a little girl, but never lost her determination to make Team USA. How many things each day do we see, but don't really notice? The way light peeks through a tree or reflects on the water. For someone who spent a lifetime immersed in the sport of swimming, McLean Hermes can now only feel the water she once loved looking at.
When I lost my sight when I was 8, the first question I had for my mom was, will I still be able to swim? and we didn't really know what my future would hold.
12 years later, McLean is a medalist many times over, a 2-time member of Team USA, and she's inspiring other swimmers from her hometown in Gainesville to the Olympic pool in Tokyo.
When I was 4 years old and started swimming, I told my parents I wanted to go to the Olympics.
Her family watched her accomplish every goal she set, overcoming any obstacle. During the pandemic, she trained tethered to a dock on Lake Lanier. She may not see the water she loves, but it's only made her love it more.
What is the sensation that you feel in the water? How is it different for you swimming because you have lost your sight?
I honestly think that I feel better in the water now that I'm blind than I did when I could see. It was so freeing for me. On land, I use a cane for my guide dog, and in the water, the only thing you can run into is the wall. So I just swim until I hit the wall.
McLean's message to all?
Yes, we are para, but para means parallel. We're parallel, we're the same. We just may look a little different.
McLean Hermes says she doesn't need to see to truly take in all that's around her, opportunity and support.
I'm just so happy to make them proud.
Coming up on Brave Conquers Fear, a bizarre accident threatened to take away his passion, how love helped bring him back to music. And later, the legacy of Amazing Grace travels cross-country. A mom carries on her daughter's mission to find a cure. Now to the Brave Conquers Fear story of a classically trained pianist who was afraid that he'd never play again after a debilitating accident. Larry Austin's been playing piano since he was 4. He's fought his way back to the keyboard with his love by his side.
That was a song I wrote for Dorothy a month after we were married in 1977.
Larry has been playing Dorothy's song for 45 years. But it doesn't sound the same anymore.
Sorry, I hear mistakes. And when I was playing it, I was so happy that I could, but I was so angry of the accident that I caused.
The accident that nearly cost him Dorothy's song, that could have cost him his life.
I had these two forces just pounding inside my head, fighting. And it was very emotional, and tears were streaming down. My grandson came in and gave me a big hug. It meant so much. Sorry.
It meant so much to be back at the piano because Larry didn't know if he could ever get there again.
It's like coming home.
He didn't know if he would ever get back in his shop again.
I was glad to be there. I mean, that's where I spend every day. It was a little emotional, but I wanted to get right to work.
Larry was in his shop last summer working on a custom cabinet when a saw sliced his middle finger, pointer finger, and thumb clean off his hand.
I just went into shock. I wasn't thinking correctly, you know.
The first thing he thought was to call his wife, who told him he had to rush to the hospital. He was airlifted to Augusta, where the surgeon told him there were no guarantees.
He told me how he sewed nerves together that are the size of a human hair.
He works with his wife for hours each day to rehabilitate his hand, to learn how to make his cabinets, create his music.
Because I have perseverance and drive, and I'm going to get my hand back through hard work.
He's made adjustments to make it work, like how he holds a board, or how his fingers hit the keys.
When I hit a note, it hits the note just south of the key I want. And so I had to rearrange my position on the keyboard to make my left hand play like I needed it to. And that was very complex and also very frustrating. I never counted the stitches in this.
As difficult as his recovery has been, Larry knows it could have been much worse.
When the blade came down, you can see the scar would have gone right through here and they would have cut this finger off. My wedding ring actually saved my finger. I've learned that I have more stamina, more determination and drive than I thought I did, because I'm not going to give up on this hand. I'm going to get it back.
The courage to perform, to be yourself, and encourage others. Next. Everyone has braved through a long pandemic in many ways. For one theater group, it wasn't just about missing the opportunities or the entertainment. It's about a life-changing experience that encourages others. There are always backstage butterflies.
Very nervous because you don't know what people are going to think. Start like this.
But the freedom Amy feels on stage is worth every flutter.
It's an extraordinary opportunity.
This is the place she's finding her strength again, inside the Marcus Jewish Community Center, performing in Mamma Mia with Jerry's Habima Theater, featuring actors with special needs.
I wasn't feeling good about myself. I needed to feel more confident.
Amy literally used to look down the whole time, and now to watch her up on stage with big arms, a big smile, and that's how she feels inside too.
It's coming home. Amy was in shows when they first started in 1992. Her mom always in the audience.
And after she died, it's like my life, it felt like it fell apart, and this has helped.
You get over those humps one step at a time, and it turns into something wonderful. 'Cause somewhere in the crowd there's you.
A gift for Amy, for all the actors.
It changes people's lives, because sometimes people are told you can't do it.
And for all who come, they see barriers come down and possibilities come alive.
There's not a person that comes into this audience that it's not life-altering for them.
It takes courage.
Bravery and overcoming what you believe that you can't do.
But Amy says it is worth it all.
No one's going to make fun of you. You're not alone.
Vicki Bunky wasn't a swimmer, but she learned to carry on her daughter's legacy, to make a difference, and share joy. It is the continuation of a life inspired in a lot of ways. Inspiration to embrace each day and to use our time to make a difference. That's Grace Bunky's legacy. Her mom, Vicki, took that message across the country. 14 open water swims in 14 cities for her daughter, who was 14 when she passed away. The Amazing Grace Tour ended where it all began.
Okay, 5 minutes.
It was perfect. It was a perfect way to start.
There is peace here, meaningful history, and an energy that's captivating. Team Amazing Grace and Vicki Bunky are back to the water where it started.
It always exceeds any expectation that I had in terms of just the energy and the spirit.
Vicki Bunky's 14th and final swim of a cross-country tour ending in Lake Lanier.
I will never forget watching Grace come out of the water that day.
Is where her daughter Grace swam to help find a cure that could not help her, but she hoped would help kids in the future.
She was able to see a larger picture. Her time was going to be coming to an end, but how could she use that time she had left to help others and to do something beyond what would just help her?
From her hospital room, Grace wrote that hope has no finish line.
Like, she was able to see a larger picture.
So after Grace passed away,
this pool is where Grace swam and trained.
Vicki, who was not a swimmer, learned and set out to continue what Grace began.
We're doing, 14 open water events in honor of Grace.
A joyful 5-month hopscotch across the country that started on Mother's Day.
It was perfect. It was a perfect way to start.
This day, Vicki swims with gold medal Paralympian Mallory Wegeman, someone Grace admired and inspired.
Grace had such a profound impact on not just my life, but my husband and I can barely talk about her without getting emotional.
It's a swimming community committed to making a difference, one stroke at a time. And it's fitting the Amazing Grace Tour ends at an Olympic venue for a 14-year-old who fulfilled a dream and earned her Team USA swim cap before she died. While Grace wasn't physically here, she was present in so many ways, especially in the joy and hope she still inspires.
As if she's with me.
And just as her mom reached the finish, the sun appeared for the first and only moment of the day.
This tour will have a finish line. Hope does not.
There will be one more swim for Grace in her final resting place. Grace asked that her ashes be scattered in the Sea of Galilee. Grace's sister Caroline fulfilled that wish. Her mom will do one more swim in that sacred water. Grace continues to bring joy, to help others, and to be an example. So does every person in the stories we've just shared. It is Brave Conquers Fear. I'm Cheryl Preheim. Thanks so much for joining us.